Hello everyone, welcome to this third episode of the Plutonium podcast. Hello. I don't know why I sounded like Effie from the Hunger Games.
Really?
I think I was channeling her without even knowing.
A little bit.
Welcome to the Hunger Games. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. We're fed.
Yes.
We're not dead.
No.
Alive instead. We're not wed.
Oh boy.
Can you continue?
I
think you all should continue.
I think we'll do the podcast instead.
Yeah. No, we'll let anyone coming up with a rhyme just put it in the comments. Welcome. So, of course I've gone blank because the camera's on. Meghan Markle Oprah interview. But before we get to that, have you guys been vaccinated? Because I'm hearing that everyone in the States is pretty much, 5 million vaccines a day or something. And then meanwhile, we're here in Australia and we're so behind, it's making the news.
Yeah, this is really cliche thing that is actually, sadly, the most true part about Australians. That she'll be right, mate attitude goes all the way to the highest levels of our government.
Wait, and Zach can say this because he's Australian born, Australian bred, Australian raised, so...
And anyone who lives here knows full well that that's exactly the approach our government takes to just about everything.
We're not vaccinated. I think we've lucked out in terms of Australia's pretty much had, I know, of course, we've had sickness and death here that unfortunately has taken place, but in comparison to the US, for example, or the UK, we've had such a minuscule. So I do wonder whether we're just so far down the priority list because we're doing so well. We go out and it's pretty much infuriatingly busy.
Yeah. It's like people don't even think there's a pandemic happening.
Social distancing has been a thing of the past since July last year in Australia.
Yeah.
And we had a little bit of a December, January, period over Christmas where things were locked down again. But for the most part, social distancing? What social distancing? Anywho, I hope everyone's safe and healthy, whether you're vaccinated or not. I hope your loved ones are safe and healthy. And my sincerest condolences to anyone who's lost anyone to this horrible disease, pandemic, virus. And all right. So I think that's about it for small talk. We can get into the meat.
Yes.
Rip Meghan apart. No, I'm kidding.
Part 2 of your 6-page notes. How many pages have we got left?
Jeez. And look, I'm not going to stick to them, so, I don't know how they became 7. Someone needs to take my freaking computer away from me.
She's too good at researching.
No, it's too much, if you ask me.
This is why her other videos get so detailed, is because she's really good at making notes and concise notes.
Thank you for bringing that up. We were looking at the comment section, just making sure that you guys are heard. And first of all, again, overwhelmingly positive response to our podcast. I'm really glad you guys like this new format because I fully intend on continuing with it. On the flip side, there have been a very small minority of you who have expressed that you prefer my older style of video. I don't even want to say older because I'm still going to make videos in that format if there's a judgment to analyze. You know what I mean? Or, a court filing that is so... It's just so, what's the word? Embroiled in legalese that Zach couldn't just sit in and not participate, so I would go to my usual format where there's no give and take. So it's not going anywhere, and it's just a side-by-side kind of project. As I said, I don't know if I've said this before, but if you do have suggestions, I think I have said it, for topics, please let us know so that we can implement them. And did I mention the cupcakes?
No, you didn't.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure how they'd be received, but apparently they were quite popular in the comment section, so they might be making a comeback.
And they were really popular in my stomach as well.
It remains to be seen what color they will be in next time. Anyways,
She also makes amazing peanut butter cookies.
Yeah, I'm not going to make them, though.
Tell her to make them in the comments.
They're not colorful. They're brown.
But
they're cookies.
Oh, come on. Who doesn't
love
love cookies?
But they're not visually aesthetic.
I think what would be visually aesthetic is the look on my face as I bite into them.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I might make them. It depends how much time and it depends on my mood.
Yes.
So, Oprah interview. I don't know what that was. All right, I'm not gonna stick to the chronology as I called it in my last video because it didn't help. I mean, we're already 10 minutes in, and I'm not gonna try to hit every single point. I'll just let it flow naturally this time.
It's a web of lies, not a linear progression.
Yes, it's an RPG, not a linear game.
Yes. Yes.
It's Skyrim, not Halo.
Yeah, it's like those Goosebumps books back in the day where you used to have to flip back to pages and be I
love those.
If you pick option A, flip to page, whatever it was.
In general, right, when I approached that interview, I approached it from the point of view of someone who liked Meghan. So it was kind of like if there was a graph of my, truth or belief in Meghan. Oh man, did I forget how to and then the amount, right? So it basically started off really high, and it just dwindled on all down to the x-axis by the end of it because the more she spoke, the less I believed her, basically. And it's really important for me to stress that I approached this interview as someone who liked her and ended it as someone who was very skeptical. All in those 2 hours. The overall air. Last week you said you get the impression that she's a victim. Like she loves being the victim.
The center of attention and...
Feel sorry for me.
Exactly, yes.
To quote you verbatim, by the way.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
what you
cool.
said.
Yeah, you remember what I said more than I did.
So that was pretty much spot on because the entire Oprah interview, and not just her, Harry as well, who came in towards the end, was, oh, woe is us.
Yeah.
Our life is so difficult. We have it so bad. And what really didn't sit well with the public with regards to that is that they said it while we're still pretty much dealing with the pandemic.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't like giving personal information out, but both of us were hit by, our jobs were affected last year.
Yes.
So we also struggled. We went through that fear of how are we going to put food on our table?
It's insensitive.
It highly insensitive what they've done, considering the situation we're all in right now.
Yeah.
Not all of us have millions of dollars left over by their mother, Princess Diana in this case, for a rainy day, which is what Harry basically claimed. He was cut off from the institution. His father stopped paying him money, and he's this 37-year-old man sitting there going, my father cut me off.
Woe is me, I only have a few million.
And then, thankfully I had the money my mom gave me. And then they were allowed to live in this really famous Hollywood producer's mansion for 3 months, and he gave them his security as well. And then they bought this huge mansion that they live in now in Montecito and have this, I don't even know, $1 billion Netflix deal. And the Spotify, they have a podcast too on Spotify, Archwell. They have this foundation, which we'll get into as well because I learned things about foundations the last few days.
Oh boy. Is that going to be another podcast in itself?
Yeah. So, that was the general vibe of we've been wronged. And we don't deserve this. We deserve so much better. We deserve to thrive, not survive. When the rest of us were barely surviving.
Millions of dollars, multiple mansions, multiple deals with I would say, million or billion dollar companies to produce content and what?
Yeah, absolutely tone deaf. So that was one of the major issues that people had. And then of course you get to, there were some small lies, I would say, lies that were silly, which, for example, she repeated the fact that I never looked my husband up. I just, because I just wanted to, he was giving me and showing me everything I wanted to see. So she repeated that silly notion of I didn't look him up. I want to bring up something which was brought up to me by one of my patrons, by the way, which is a very fair comment. Some people may not necessarily know who Harry is. I understand that. But what I failed to mention in the last podcast is when we're talking about things, mostly taken into context, we're talking about Meghan here. So there are photos of her as a teenager, as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, outside of Buckingham Palace. So, of course, why would you pose in front of the palace if you didn't know what significance was attached to it? Her best friend for most of her life, including her family, have said time and time again that she has always been a huge fan of Diana, owns her books about Diana, researched Diana, tried to be and emulate her.
I have met women like this before, where
let's say you have met people. Let's not make this about gender.
Oh no, of course. But I've personally dealt with women who just replicate men's behavior, but then we'll turn around and go, oh no, this is naturally me. And it's so obvious because you can draw a fine line between when they had no interest in the topic, when they met the guy, and when they suddenly had an interest in the topic.
Yeah, and which is the same with Meghan. When she was dating that chef Corey, she was suddenly a foodie. She's all about food. Oh, she a connoisseur. And then she met Harry, and she's a chameleon. That came up a lot in my research. From people in her past, and when you look at photos of her and her progression, she molds and morphs herself into whoever she has to be to either snare the man or get into a certain group or class of people.
Yeah, and how do you go from meeting a chef to becoming a connoisseur? Because that's not an overnight thing.
Well, no, she started being a foodie, so she started expressing this interest in food.
All right.
That's what I meant. Sorry, I should have clarified.
No, she didn't actually. Did she consider herself a connoisseur though, or did she say the word to herself?
I don't know if she actually used the word, but the way she referred to herself on the TIG and everything was that she was very much in the know. Yeah, not just an appreciator of food, but someone who understands food.
Yeah, look at me, copy this thing. Now suddenly I'm a professional in the industry.
So point being, she will notice what the guy or group of people that she wants to infiltrate, she'll notice what they're about, what they like, which is very familiar to you because the woman that essayed him did exactly this, except it didn't work.
Yeah, no, it didn't. To the point where now I'm still in that phase where I am actually afraid to show my interests because I know that if I show something I'm interested in, the very next day or week, I'll hear through someone that now someone else is interested in that, and it makes you sick to the stomach because nothing can ever just be yours. And I'm not saying that people can't have common interests, but when someone is stalking you so hard that you can't breathe without them trying to copy the way you breathe.
Yeah. And I've witnessed this firsthand in relation to Zach and the other woman who essayed him. It's incredibly creepy, and Meghan is just like that.
Yeah.
So it's like with Zach, if he likes Marvel and Iron Man, this woman is suddenly obsessed and starts buying all the merch and all the cups and all the necklaces, everything to scream that I love Marvel when she never did.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, the bands that you love, the music that you love to listen to, she just latched on to whatever bands he loved.
Yeah.
And it became her thing, right?
I remember specifically, we mentioned this, we talked about this a few days ago.
You got chocolate powder, yeah.
We talked about this a few days ago, but I told you this way back where she bought me an Iron Man t-shirt that lit up with the arc reactor in the middle. Actually had a little battery pack, but not before she pretty much drowned it in her perfume.
And what did you do with the shirt?
I threw it away.
Did you ever wear it once?
Not once. Once. I got rid of that shirt as fast as I could.
If I was gifting a guy anything, especially if he made it very clear to me that he was not into me, I would not drench it in female perfume.
And I had made it extremely clear at that point.
Yeah. So again, this is the type of woman we're dealing with from what I can see from the research with Meghan, right? What brought me to this line of thought is this notion of I didn't know who he was. I didn't look him up. It's fair to say not everyone knows who Prince Harry was or is, but Meghan did.
You're not obsessed with Diana without knowing who her children are. You know what I mean?
Oh, the lies. Okay. So she repeated that on Oprah. Everyone latched onto it, but that was a small, stupid, minor thing in comparison to the other bombs that she threw out and watched explode.
Before we jump onto that, why the need to reiterate the lie? Why the need? And even though it's so small, it's like, why do you need to come back to this that you've already been exposed on?
I think it's her way of saying F you all.
Yeah.
I'm still going to stick to my version of events.
Yeah, no matter how, because I'm part of, well, not anymore, but I was part of the royal family. I snagged myself a prince, la-di-da-di-da, look at me.
Yeah. And then this is when, the oh, woe is me starts. And the majority of the interview was actually just with Meghan. Harry, like I said, came towards the end. But, giggity. Phrasing.
Are we not doing phrasing anymore? Oh, God.
If you watch Archer, or if I let it. I was going to say, if you get the reference, let us know. But I already revealed the reference.
If you haven't watched Archer, you have to watch Archer. It's hilarious.
I love Archer. And then the point of this interview was to crap all over the royal family, right? Every single thing she said, she had to make sure that she made them out to be the villains. And she was the sacrificial lamb. So, to begin with, she said, they lied to me and told me they would protect me from the media. Now, whether they actually said that or not, it's hearsay at this point.
Yeah.
Because they have this very strong policy of don't complain, don't explain, right?
Yeah.
So they haven't really responded to that in particular.
Which comes when you're a 1,200-year-old institution who's maybe gone around the circus a few times.
But I have seen, especially between the time between their engagement and the wedding, Kensington Palace released multiple statements. And even before the engagement, Harry released, via the palace, released this very strong, scathing statement telling people to stop bashing his girlfriend at the time, Meghan, about racism and stuff. So he was like, you're being disgusting, leave us alone. It's never been done before. And that's when people knew, oh, wow, Harry's really serious about this girl.
Can you imagine, her just going, if you don't do this, you don't love me?
That's what I mean. I was going to say, at the time, I thought it was purely him. But now that I feel as though they have revealed their cards and showed themselves to the world, it's very clearly, you better do this or it's over, or, some ultimatum.
Yeah.
Which is also, I believe, an ultimatum for him. I do think I don't know if it's a full-on ultimatum, because of course we weren't there, but I do think she basically made him leave his family and go overseas.
Yeah.
Not necessarily against his will, but manipulated him.
Yeah, because Diana actually said that he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. I believe we touched on this last time. I remember her biographer, Andrew Morton, I think his name is. He said that she said, I'm worried about Harry. Yeah.
Because he's not the brightest. William's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm worried about Harry.
And this is normally the sort of people that evil people target. And even, in fact, one of the comments I read, it was actually a comment that said on our first podcast, and I need to find their name, but they made a really good point. This wasn't about the first podcast with Amber and Johnny and even my situation. It's not about men versus women. It's about innocent versus evil. It's this sort of people, evil people target innocent people, especially people who, I read another comment who said that it's hard because you want to see the best in people, but
it depends on your life experiences.
Yeah, of course, but
I don't see the best in people. I'll be honest.
I came from that. Like, you always want to see the best in people.
Yeah.
And it's hard because people are so, I don't know, they just use that as an advantage to manipulate you. It's horrible.
These people like Meghan and like this woman in your story and like Amber, they are reptilian.
Yeah.
They have this, it's almost like an instinct. They know exactly who to target, and they also know exactly who to stay away from.
Yeah. There are people who just know that you are a radar for that, and that they can't fool you the same way that they fool other people.
Yeah.
A lot of people liked that partner in life comment, by the way.
Co-host.
Co-host in life.
I made that up on the spot, by the way, and he laughed at me. So thank you all for liking it. Because
I liked it. That's why I laughed, because a little bit of behind the scenes. you know, it was like, okay, do we introduce each other as like boyfriend and girlfriend, or do we introduce each other as partner? It's like, and then was also
for me, partner as a lawyer is kind of always like law firm partner,
or like if I owned a business, it would be this
business partner. Well, I guess you kind of are in this venture.
Well, yeah, but a co-host in life is definitely
yeah, no, I know that one was a hit.
Yeah,
and it's funny how the things you make up on the spot are the ones that sometimes end up sticking.
Yeah.
So yeah, all this to say, these people, she targeted Harry. My opinion. Not saying it as fact, because I wasn't there, I wasn't in her head, and God knows I would never want to be in that head of hers. Anyways, so yeah, they defended her. Harry defended her. The royal family, the palace, kept releasing statements, multiple statements. They even made a statement about Meghan's father not coming or something. He's sick. Like they have been her voice. So for her to say they didn't, protect her, of course they're not going to respond to every single little thing. We touched on Kate Middleton, Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, I should say, because as I was watching back the podcast, I was like, we should, we owe her respect. That's her title now. So the Duchess of Cambridge, or Catherine, because it's easier, has had one hell of a nightmare with the media prior to, Waity Katie, that's what they called her. It was on the side of buses. She was only 19 when she met William.
Yeah. And
they went through a breakup when they were like around our age, mid-20s, and the paparazzi descended on her. And she had a really rough go, and she was over 10 years or 10 years younger than Meghan. You know what I mean? And no one defended her.
Yeah.
The royal family accepted Meghan into, they invited her over for Christmas when she was still just his fiance. They had never done that before. With anyone, not with Kate. Catherine. And not only that, they invited her mother. I think this was the year later after she became a duchess.
Yeah.
Again, something they've never afforded to Catherine. Catherine always had to have Christmas with either one family or the other, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I do apologize if I am, but that's what I've always heard. And then Meghan's mom is welcomed and invited to the royal family's Christmas.
Yeah.
So they bent over backwards for her.
I think that most normal people have 3 meals a day, but people like this, they need a serving of attention. And that's where this is coming from. Every day, it's waking up and, Harry, you better tell them this. Harry, you better tell them that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen it. We've all seen that, sort of, if you don't say this, then, well, ultimatum here and, all there.
Yeah, so that's completely debunked. It's like you said last time, the information is out there. How can you just sit there and lie when the opposing information is right there? There are photos of her in 2017. Everyone made fun of her ridiculous brown, I'll show it to you just so I can give you an image. And I'll try my best to flash up photos in the podcast as well every time I show Zach something.
While you're pulling that up too, I noticed another comment that actually said that apparently when William and Catherine got married, they didn't make as much of a big deal about it in the UK.
I caught that comment.
How crazy is that? I mean...
yeah, so this is the photo. She's not married. They're not married here. Look at her standing right beside. See?
I'm no body language expert, but you see the way that Harry's standing there and he's got like his fists clenched, and I don't know if it's cold, but William is rather calm and collected.
William is so lovely. I look at him and I just see a pillar of such quiet strength. I'm serious. He reminds me. I have an older brother. I don't know if you're watching. I love you, but whenever I see William, I think of my brother because
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he has that vibe.
He's like everything's gonna be okay because he's in the room type thing.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how I feel about my brother, and I feel like I love William for that because I feel that way when I see him.
But like I am jumping to so many conclusions in this assumption, but normally when I see a guy really tense during an event, especially with his woman smiling so big, normally my assumption is, wow, they must have had a talking to before that event. You know what I mean? God knows.
But for her, so again, there's the proof. All you have to do out there is, for example, in this case, what did I type?
You typed Meghan Markle Christmas 2017.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
And immediately her claims are debunked in the sense that they didn't you know, they weren't. Well, she did say, to be fair, it's all coming to me right now. She said at the beginning they all welcomed me, and this was in response to Oprah specifically asking her if there was a rift between her and Catherine. So then she said, "Did Catherine welcome you?" And then she kind of hesitated and went, "Everyone was welcoming." So she refused to give Catherine that one point. Which leads me to this, it seems really petty.
I can't imagine Catherine being mean to anyone.
I know. Again, we talked about her briefly last week, but she's one of these people that I see her face, I get a reading, and she just seems so lovely.
I'm horrible at reading people, and even I think she's lovely.
Yeah, you just get that vibe. Can you hear that? Do you think it's coming through?
That'd be okay.
Yeah, well, it's far enough. If anyone can hear a vacuum, it's probably...
Is the room divider in place?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, I put it there.
Okay, sorry, I just had that heart attack.
Yeah, no, it's all good. If you can hear a vacuum, we're sorry. I think it's just one of our neighbors. But anyways, Catherine, yeah, you just get this read off of her. There isn't a single photo. I actually have this in my notes, so again, you brought it up, so thank you. There is not a single photo of Catherine where she was caught with this evil look on her face. And we've talked about this recently. And with Meghan, to begin with, I gave her the benefit of the doubt because I truly liked her. And, well, not to begin with, sorry. 2019, 2018-ish, when the bad impressions from the engagement interview faded, there were a few photos of her just in this, you know, you get this almost, again, reptilian kind of cold, menacing, also kind of look in her eyes, like a god complex.
You're another one of your observations about people has stuck with me. It's the fact that the smile doesn't really reach the eyes.
Yes.
It's that the smile is here and then here is dead.
It's like a shark.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like shark eyes. And Meghan's got those shark eyes where it doesn't matter how wide of a smile it is down here, the eyes are cold and completely unaffected by it. And that's a red flag for me in real life. Not necessarily with celebrities, because I know that they often put on a fake smile.
Yeah.
But with Meghan, it's just so constant.
It's no coincidence that also lines up.
Yes, and she gets those. There's this one photo which I will again try to flash up. I don't have it right here, and I don't know how to look for it. But she's wearing this really pretty blue dress. It was during her Australia tour, I think. And she and Harry are getting into the airplane, and then she turns around and looks at the cameras, and there's just this look of I am queen. Like, I should probably, I don't know how to emulate it. It's like, I don't even know how to do it.
You know, it seems, because this is the thing, right? When I look at William and Catherine, I think to myself, okay, part of the royal family. And it escapes my mind because Queen Elizabeth is going so strong that one day they will be king and queen, right? It escapes my mind. And suddenly, putting these pieces together, it makes so much sense, because it doesn't matter that Meghan is in the royal family. She will never be queen. And so Catherine will always be a threat to her.
Exactly. People speculate that's why she left the royal family.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't stomach this, I have to always walk behind William and Catherine. I will always be second best.
I did notice a comment for a live podcast request. So
brilliant.
Taking that on. There was a few, but one in particular was like, absolutely do it live. There's so many comments there. One day I'm just going to have to read all my favorite comments.
Well, yeah, we'll just have to make an entire episode when we have nothing to talk about and just look at comments. So anyways, I found the actual event, but there is this, I'll try to find the photo and flash it, because it's one of those photos, and along with a photo from her wedding day where Harry's just always looking down or something, right? He's never aware of the cameras.
Yeah.
And she knows exactly where to find the bloody cameras.
Yeah. Because she's doing it.
She just looks right at it. There, this photo. Of course, forget this photo.
Oh my gosh.
Look at her face.
I don't have...
Here.
I have no... the first photo you pulled up was a photo of their dresses. And
oh, yeah, here, yeah.
I'm not in any way... I don't know anything about fashion. I'm just your average bloke who, if you didn't tell me what the colors don't work, I don't know. But, wow. Her dress is so much better.
People.
Kate's dress.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you should specify it.
Kate's dress is so much better.
Kate looks absolutely regal, but people didn't like Megan's dress. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
A lot of people when she stepped out were like, "What?"
How about the smile too? Like Kate's I am so happy to be here, and Megan's like, huh.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm making your editing process hard because
No,
I'm
it's
like
all right.
seeing the photos.
It's worth it. It's worth it because it's crazy. Look at how wonderfully happy and genuine Kate looks.
Genuine. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And
Such a sweetheart.
I'm so sick of ingenuine people.
And you know what? I have to say something because, one thing Meghan says, not sincerely, in the interview is you don't have to be either Team Kate or Team Meghan. You can love one without hating the other, which I completely agree with because before I disliked Meghan, I always liked Kate. Never, as we said in the last podcast, the royals are not in our radar.
No.
They're not part of our lives here in Australia. They were never a part of my life growing up. But I've always been aware of Kate. Since I was a little girl, she and William were together. So she's always been in my, what a lovely woman, right?
Yeah.
And then Meghan came along and I was like, cool. I guess another, lovely woman. I never hated one just to like the other.
No, because this isn't...
We're not pitting them up against each other.
It isn't Ford versus Holden used to be the thing that guys you would go on about here, or Apple versus
Windows,
Mac versus PC.
Yeah. It's not.
It's nothing like that. But you know what?
It's raining really hard.
Is it? Wow,
Like,
where'd
what
that
the
come
hell?
from? It's like a sun shower though.
Yeah.
It's great. I wrote a song called Sun Shower ages ago. Wow, like
Oh,
back
really?
in 2010.
One comment I saw, or maybe two, actually suggested for a topic that you and I talk about our music. But by the way, for those of you who know that I'm a musician and have watched my music, Zach does all my recording. So I'm the songwriter, and then Zach produces and fleshes out because he's a graduate. You've got a Bachelor of Music.
Bachelor of Music.
So I compose everything, but I'm self-taught, and then Zach will flesh it out. Particularly guitar, drums, and bass.
Yeah.
With strings and keys, that's 99%, if not 100% me. But yeah, so Zach's actually my collaborator, and he brings my music to life.
Can I say it?
What?
That I have a studio.
Yeah, Zach has a studio, but we're not going to tell you where because safety.
No, we won't say where, but I do have a recording studio. It's Be Original Studios. We do covers. I do.
You do covers. I only do originals because I'm self-taught and I suck at covers.
I really want you to do some covers.
Well,
We've
I can
been talking
sing
about
covers,
it.
but that's about it.
No, I want you to come in, like, even if it's a duet thing or if it's we get a band together just to play some covers.
I would love to. I mean, last year was everything was on hold. We couldn't meet anyone to do covers anyway.
I mean, now that we have the podcast, I mean, I don't know if this is something you want to do, but we could even do a live show,
like a duet.
Well, even with a band, I could get.
Oh, wow.
We could do a band live show. We could do it. We could do it for maybe.
If you're interested, sure, we'll set up a live show.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
We'll play some tunes. That'd be fun.
That would be cool. Even the intro and outro track for this podcast, Zach composed it.
Oh yeah. I did see someone who really likes that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love it. I was like going through all his unused compositions, and I was like, this one.
Anyone who's a songwriter knows that the amount of ideas you have stored on your hard drive is always exceeding the amount of ideas.
For me, it's my phone.
Yeah, it's like that was a meme of ages ago. He has 400 unfinished ideas. Oh, but here's a new idea.
I know. It's like I was watching this interview with Michael Jackson in '94. He was sued for apparently plagiarizing someone's work, and of course they failed.
In other words, someone was out of money.
But the lawyer asked him, "How many songs do you write on average per album?" And then Michael's like, "Per album?" And then yeah, per album. And he went, "I don't know, 70?" And I was like, "What?"
Oh man!
I have lost subscribers and patrons over my support of Michael. I've lost a couple over my support of lack of support of Meghan.
Yeah.
So there are definitely some diehard. What's the opposite of fans? Haters. Diehard haters out there who will unsubscribe from someone just because they happen to like someone or dislike someone. But it's a free world. No, it's not. That's a lie.
I feel like because I have a degree, I can say objectively Michael Jackson is the king of pop, and there's just no two ways about it. So
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to lose more subs, but the more I learn about him, the more I think he's wonderful.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Again, you have to always second guess what you hear from the media. And you should never have one source in anything. I mean, that's what they teach you in university. They say you can't just have one source. 6 sources minimum. If you can't find 6 people that agree on a subject that's that popular, then perhaps the facts aren't there.
Yeah. And, I would just urge anyone out there who feels that they have to unsubscribe from anyone, not just me, just because the creator tends to like someone or dislike someone. It is raining so hard outside there, by the way.
It's really
crazy.
Beautiful, actually.
Yeah. I feel as though you shouldn't be driven to unsubscribe just because both of you don't align on that particular topic. But again, it's your own prerogative.
Yeah, I think that it's a bit of when I use the subscription service to kind of show a creator support. So I will unsubscribe when someone does something that I absolutely don't agree with. Yeah. But it's never a differing opinion.
Or you like someone or you don't like someone.
Yeah, my subscription feed is more about my own personal preference. But I did subscribe from someone the other day because they...
Unsubscribed?
Sorry, I did unsubscribe from someone the other day, weeks ago now, because they had a certain sponsorship I disagreed with. But that was me saying,
Raid Shadow Legends?
It was Raid Shadow Legends. And it wasn't... Look, I know that Raid Shadow Legends reaches out to a lot of creators, and if you don't know any better, then you just go,
say
hey,
yes.
it's a sponsorship. Yeah. Because there are plenty of people like that.
But I mean, if they reach out to me for whatever reason, I'm such an obscure YouTuber, but if my channel grew, I'm not going to say no.
Well, I mean...
It's the moolah.
We'd at least talk about it. But let me put it this way. This channel has no need to accept a sponsorship they don't want to accept.
Oh, they're a huge channel. I know exactly who you're talking about, by the way.
And on top of that, they're also a channel that should know better. But anyway...
Money Talks, which is exactly... It's funny, it's linked to Meghan, right? Money Talks.
But if you were making, let's say, enough that you could well and truly...
Pick and choose.
You could pick and choose. Yeah. Then at that point, it would be like, well, I'm not going to pick this one.
Yeah.
Right? So, and especially when you have such an influenceable audience. So
yeah, influenceable.
Is that a word?
I don't even know. Is it a word? I'm gonna type it in.
Yeah, let's find out.
Influenceable.
It is.
It is. Ha! There you go. Yeah, it's not going to be added to Zach's dictionary. So complimentative. You said that last time, which I was watching back. I was like, I don't think that's a word, Zach. But
did you punch it in?
No, I'm going to do that now.
Do it now. Let's see if
complimentative. It might be, I don't know anything. It's a word. It's a word. Wait, Urban Dictionary?
Oh, okay, right. No, I think it's complimentary.
Yeah, it's complimentary. That's how I would say it.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah, it's not a word, see? It's not normally used. Sorry, Zach.
No, it was close enough.
It's going to be added to Zach's dictionary. There are 2 words there now. I forgot what the second was. I forgot what the second one is. Anyways, let's move on, shall we?
Let's do it.
We were on the topic of Kate. Now, this is going to sound petty, but... it just highlights how much of a liar or how much of, I'm just going to say liar, Meghan can be. Right. There were headlines, and I remember these headlines, of Meghan making Kate cry. Now, you can see why I mean it sounds petty. Who made who cry? Because then Meghan goes, Oprah had to pull it out of her, by the way. It wasn't even like, no, Kate made me cry. It wasn't like, if you were truly... Exactly. Yes, if you were truly, what's the word, aggrieved? I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for. But essentially, she just had to sit there and let Oprah drag it out of her. So there was this talk about the Flower Girls, Kate's daughter, Catherine's daughter. Why did I forget her name? I know her name, Charlotte. The most adorable little girl. And usually in England, especially with the royal family and the weddings and stuff, they wear stockings, white stockings under their dress. And Meghan was like, no. And they didn't end up wearing stockings, I think. So point being is that they had an argument about that. Now, the media reported months later that Meghan made Kate cry. But then Meghan went, no, she made me cry. Wait. So the problem is, since the interview... many members of staff in the royal family but basically sources and stuff have said, no, people were there. it was Meghan who made Kate cry.
Yep.
And to make matters worse, what Kate did, regardless of whether she cried or whether she made Meghan cry or both of them cried, which seems really petty now that I'm saying it out loud. Whoever cried, Kate went to her house, to Meghan's Frogmore Cottage or wherever the hell she and Harry were living, with flowers to apologize. You want to get... Yeah, you're already mad. You don't even know what Meghan did. And this is, again, backed up by sources from the palace. Royal correspondents are coming out on, in the media and saying this, right? It's not just rumors. Meghan kind of went, not good enough, slam. And at that point, she made Kate cry.
If you're willing to unsubscribe from this channel because you still defend Meghan, then you know what? You probably condone this behavior. Because maybe you think that's okay to do to people. Maybe you think psychological abuse is something that is allowed to happen. Well, I've got news.
And then in the interview, she was like, yeah, but I don't want to drag Kate after saying all that.
Once you've done dragging.
After saying that Kate made her cry. But then she said, she came and she apologized, which is something that I would have done. She has to drag herself into everything, by the way. She can never talk about other people without somehow bringing it back to her. But she never said that she slammed the door in her face. Now, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say that none of these sources from the palace were there in that moment when Catherine went to the door and Meghan slammed it. Maybe she didn't.
So who's saying that the door was slammed?
Staff from Kensington Palace, yeah.
Okay.
And so
and
it's not directly...
One source.
Yes, and it's not directly from the staff. Royal correspondents, these are British kind of, journalists that have a direct... they have direct communication with the palace staff.
Yeah, okay.
They're the ones coming out and being their mouthpiece.
Yeah, so they don't lose their job.
So there is a lot of hearsay and, there is a gap. It's not like there's a direct witness and I am a lawyer and I'm always going to have to go back to that.
I can see how that could be lost in Chinese whispers and passed along, and then translations get lost as the message is passed on. But I think there's plenty of evidence against it. I think that if this was, say, a one-off or something that, this was the only horrible thing that we can say she did, then sure. But, I mean, how many people has Catherine made cry?
I was going to say that. It was right on the tip of my tongue. How many, over the 20 years she's been with William, not married, they've been married for 10, have you ever heard of anyone coming out and saying they've been bullied or have been made to cry by Catherine? So there was that, right? And people made a huge thing about that, whatever. And then now we get to the more serious... Actually, there's one more thing. A bit of a petty kind of thing before we really get into the seriousness. So she talks about how she was trapped in the palace and she was lonely. Now, don't forget, she's saying this while all of us were in quarantine. Especially in England, they aren't even out of quarantine as far as I know.
I think the lockdowns are beginning to ease.
12th of April, I think.
Like now, I only just saw that pop up on my...
Yeah, me too. I think I saw it at the gym in the news. But basically, to be fair, when she was trapped, it was pre-COVID. But she's saying it like, I was trapped in this palace and I was lonely and I wasn't even allowed to go out and see my friends for lunch. And I was told to basically hide away because I was in the media too much and I needed to disappear. And she was like, how can I disappear when I've already disappeared? I'm going to give her, again, there are two sides to this argument. Devil's advocate, fair enough. I do believe that you can feel lonely even in a gilded cage. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it's correct. Maybe you need to reflect and think about why you're feeling lonely and think about how privileged you are, but at the same time, you can be that richest person in the world and be depressed.
Now, did she have help? Did she have, the palace staff around?
Yeah, she always did. And then Oprah was like, what about Harry? She was like, yeah, when Harry was there, of course it was fine, but when he was gone for work a lot of the time, I was very lonely and I wasn't allowed to go out. But the problem is, you see how she and Harry, she made so many royal appearances.
Yeah.
Where she's dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
And she may argue that's work, but she really looks like you've seen the photos. She's living it up,
It used to be work before she had landed herself a royal. The point being is, she was always doing some engagement or the other, even when she was pregnant.
So she wasn't. Again, I understand it's work, but if I had to go out every other day and meet people and greet people and be in, go to award ceremonies or whatever, what the point I'm trying to make here is, I'm not disputing that you can feel lonely in a palace.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to imagine. I'm sure, is it easy for you to imagine?
That's why I asked about the help, because here's the thing. If you're not too high and mighty, then you're surrounded by people all the time. And, as much as those people are there to serve you and that's their job, that's still interactions.
Yeah.
When I was, one of my old jobs, I used to deal with a lot of elderly people. In passing, it was, and some of them just wanted to have a conversation. You know what I mean? Because they didn't want to be locked up in their house, and so they would, have little conversations here and there, and they just enjoyed talking. Now, that was enough for them to fight off the loneliness. But I think that when you are, one, living in a palace, two, surrounded by help, three, it's the royal family. I mean, need I say, I don't know. Like,
it's hard to believe.
It's really, really hard to believe and grasp. Yeah. And again, I cannot speak for her, but it's just, she's lied about so many other things.
Yeah. It always comes back to that.
And when you've lied about all of these things, then it's the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah, that's the problem with Meghan. She's made her bed, you know what I mean? Like, she's done the damage. Now it's going to become hard for anyone to believe anything. What? She's
made her bed because none of the help will work for her anymore.
Oh my God. No, but for real, I don't want people to misunderstand, because I really truly believe that incredibly rich people, incredibly privileged people are still susceptible to mental illness, to feelings of loneliness, to depression, to self-harm. We're human, and money is material. It's man-made. It's not something natural like food and the sun and nature. It's not something that necessarily feeds our soul. So I understand that having an abundance of it is not medicine. It's not immunity from these problems. But with Meghan, especially when you see those photos of her jetting in, and she, like I said last time, she went to New York for her baby shower. Did you really have to go to New York in a private jet for your baby shower? And then she flew to the US Open. She's been in and out. And in terms of not seeing your friends for lunch, invite them over to your palace grounds. Do you have to go out to a restaurant?
Yeah, like your palace staff could probably create something better than a lot of restaurants. Because they're the palace and they serve the queen.
Exactly. You have to accept that you are now a member of the royal family, which means, unfortunately, you don't see many photos of the royals out and about in restaurants. You see Catherine shopping at supermarkets and, driving to do the school run. You see that. But you don't, I really haven't seen any photos of Catherine being caught eating on a regular basis at some public restaurant.
One thing that I've learned in the pandemic is a person's capacity to occupy themselves while they're alone is actually a good indicator of their mental health.
Yeah.
And I just wondered, okay, but do you know how to spend time with yourself?
Yes. Do you have a hobby?
Exactly.
Interest outside of work? Outside of your friends?
Because you know what I would do if I was part of the royal family? Right?
You'd play video games all the time.
No, I would turn one of their rooms into a music room recording studio / thing, and I would spend the entire day there.
Yeah.
And then I'd spend the entire night playing games.
Yeah, like Catherine has a gym.
Exactly.
Because she's really sporty.
That's what you would do.
That's what I would do,
If you had all the money in the world, then, you would have a gym and you would spend hours there. All this to say, when you have a hobby, it doesn't matter what it is, so long as it's not hurting anyone.
Mm-hmm. And not hurting yourself,
Of course.
Hopefully it's not a drug hobby.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us as a society to be able to spend time with ourselves and not be so caught up on always being around people.
People like Meghan don't exist unless they're being acknowledged by others. That's how they feel. They feel that if they're invisible if there's no one there to give them attention and to acknowledge their existence.
And until people like that are able to overcome that borderline mental illness and either seek help or help themselves, I think that the longer they're invisible, the better, because they are nothing but a nuisance on society at that point.
Yeah.
When you are just there to get attention.
Yeah. Or when you don't exist. in your own mind until you get attention. Occupy your time. Invite your friends over. I'm fairly certain that she wasn't stopped from doing that. Push your hair out of your head. Don't hide that pretty face. So, moving on. This is where we start talking about her thoughts, right? Her really deep, dark period when she was pregnant, and also post-pregnancy when because she said she was breastfeeding her child. So during her pregnancy, she said she started to have dark thoughts where she wanted to end her own life. Now, I feel like she shot herself in the foot with this portion of the interview, because as she was describing it, before she referenced a particular event, which I will be flashing photos up, I felt, she even started getting emotional and tearing up. Now, she is an actress, albeit not a good one, but maybe she's had some coaches since meeting Harry. She started to get all emotional, and to me, a sign of genuine emotion is when you feel it too.
Yeah.
And as I was watching her, I felt it, I have to say. And I started tearing up a little bit. So this was when I was still, very much playing for Meghan's side.
Yeah.
And then she went and did this, in my opinion, fatal error, which is reference the Cirque du Soleil event. She singled out this event as the day that she told Harry that that's what she was feeling, and that it's very dark in there and she's going to do it. Like, it's not even just fleeting thoughts. It was a constant. She said she would get up in the middle of the night and plan it. And don't forget, she was pregnant. So it would be 2 lives lost. According to her, this is the day, right? And then they were like, oh, well, we have to work, so we have to go put on the makeup, put on the dress, and go. I have been in very dark places in my head as well.
Me too.
And I can guarantee you, and several people, if not everyone who has been in that place has said the exact same thing on the internet since this interview came out.
Yep.
What she did here would be impossible.
Yep.
If that was truly your mindset.
Yep. Absolutely, because it's the last thing you can do in that you are no longer, it's almost like the mental prison becomes the physical.
Yeah.
And you feel like you are paralyzed at points.
It's different from depression. I understand you can be a fully functioning depressed person.
Yeah.
You can, be out there and be normal and people don't know how broken you are on the inside. But when it gets to the depths that she described, and to see Harry, who comes across, he's all about mental health. He's he's an advocate for it. Yeah. He speaks up for it. He does initiatives and talks and charities and all these things. He's centered on mental health. Yeah. And for him to look like he's so carefree, just look at him. And then she says they were sitting in the royal box, as you can see here, and she would cry, and she said, I'd be weeping every time the lights were down and the show was going on, Cirque du Soleil. And whenever it was intermission, and don't forget, she's surrounded by people, as you can see here. They're not just, the way she described it made it look like it was just the 2 of them.
Yeah.
She said that she'd be weeping, and then when intermission was coming along and the lights were going to come up, she's like, okay, people, intermission, time to smile. You've cried hard. I've cried hard. I'm sure every human being watching this video has cried hard. The first thing that happens is, forget the makeup running. I don't know what kind of magical makeup exists out there where it wouldn't run down her face.
It doesn't.
The eyes.
Yep.
The puffiness. The redness. There is nothing that can combat that.
There was one particular shot, and I'm looking at both of them.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that the only person there who's weeping and doing it internally is Harry.
Yeah.
You can see he's
People have
distressed.
said that.
You can see that the amount of stress that she is putting on him, he, at this point, You're right. Actually, I'm glad you brought it up, because I'm focusing on him now, because I was focused on her. In the royal box, Harry does look troubled. Not distraught, troubled. When they walk in the reception area, he looks completely carefree and happy. I don't promise, but I can... But he does look agitated in the royal box. I feel as if there is not a single event that they go to where she has not berated him before. Or even in the car. And in the car, when they're getting ready, when he wakes up that morning. He just knows when he wakes up that morning, oh boy, here we go again. It's a pity, because if she was actually a good actress, then she could have played the female villain in several movies. So she singled this out. This event
I don't know why she picked it, because she was like, someone sent me a photo of Harry holding my hand, and all I can see, this is the exact photo, is the whites of our knuckles, because we were holding each other so tight. And I'm like, where? I don't see it. Look at Harry's face in this photo she singled out. Look at Harry's face.
It's the one photo where they traded, where he's smiling and she's not. For half a
No, she's
second.
smiling. She's just like doing that thing where she's getting rid of the lipstick in her mouth or something on her teeth. If she hadn't shot herself in the foot and referenced these photos, I would be inclined to believe her. Because again, this touches back on, just because you're rich and famous, that doesn't mean you're not human and you don't have dark thoughts, especially with pregnancy.
Yeah.
I'd imagine, the hormones.
Yeah.
I believe that she could have been in a very dark place. But then she did that.
She's shot herself so many times. I'm surprised she has anything below the knees.
I know, right? So there was that issue. Now, I'm not discrediting her with regards to what she may have felt at that time, because for all we know, it could have been true. Based on these photos, I don't necessarily buy it, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt in this particular, because it's such a serious topic. I don't feel comfortable saying she's a liar. Yeah, I don't.
We can definitively say she is a liar. We just can't, we know which way the scale's tipping as of the chances of this being a lie.
Yeah, it's more like that.
Yeah, and I think that when it comes to, picking, because if I was trying to put my head in the, in essentially an evil headspace here, if I wanted to say something on an interview and have people feel sorry for me, where's the first place I would go? If I couldn't use SA or DV or anything like that,
You go to mental health.
I would go straight to suicide.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I would go if I wanted people to feel sorry for me. Because now we are put in this position where if we get it wrong, then we're horrible people.
Yeah.
So we can't definitively say she's lying. And that's the sort of, again, controlling the narrative.
Yeah. All right. I think we can move on from that particular point. So the next point she made is... Sorry. Cannot move on. There's a very important point. Oprah asked Harry, what'd you do? What'd you do about this? Didn't you seek... She even asked Meghan, didn't you seek help? And she said, no one would help me. She flat out said she went everywhere. She went to HR, even though she's not a staff member. She went to family members, apparently. She went to staff. And everyone told her, sorry, we don't deal with this. She said, please, I want to go to rehab. I want to go to, I want to go to get professional help. And apparently they said, no, it's an embarrassment. You can't expose us like that. Charles has gone to therapy.
Yep.
Diana has gone to therapy.
Yep.
I believe the Queen, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, I think the Queen has had some therapy.
Because
Harry, ever since his mom's death, has gone to therapy. And now suddenly, because it's Meghan, it's unacceptable?
There is no way Harry and William have not gone to therapy after the death of their mother!
Exactly!
There is nothing shameful about getting therapy. Absolutely nothing shameful, because it doesn't matter if you have it all. It doesn't matter if you're just like, I just want to sort some things out. It doesn't matter which end of the scale you fall on. Even if you have the time and the resources and the money to go and speak to someone,
therapy.
Do it, because there is nothing shameful. And anyone who shames you into it, anyone who goes, oh no, that's not what you do, mate. No, you'll be right, she'll be right. Fuck them.
And that's what she's claiming the royal family did, which is an absolute lie.
No.
And what's worse is Harry, when Oprah asks him, what'd you do about it? What, did you tell anyone? He said no, because he was ashamed. Harry, the mental health advocate, was suddenly ashamed. He literally said this verbatim. He's like, I was ashamed. And then Oprah, even though she's very much biased and on their side, even I could tell in that moment, she went, oh, how unfortunate that you were ashamed. She actually said, how sad, something like that. How, she found it sad, but I feel like she also found it like, wow, what kind of a husband are you? You know what I mean?
I think we can
Should I turn on the lights? Or you think we're good?
Oh, no, we're good.
We look good on, the lights are good on the viewfinder.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, we don't want to throw off the balance. That's lies.
And for him to say, I was ashamed, so I didn't tell anyone that my pregnant wife was in that dark place where she could take not only her own life, but my future child's life. It's insane for me to think that a grown 36, 37-year-old man sat there on TV and said, I was ashamed.
The 36-year-old man who he is meant to be an advocate. Imagine being one of those people who Prince Harry's on your team. He's fighting for you, whether it be physical or mental disabilities. He's there. He's rooting for you. There's the Invictus Games. It's happening, and you're one of those people who's like, hey, and I got help because I was encouraged that I didn't have to let my disability take over me. It's we had an ad here which was the word disability, but they crossed out the dis, and it was about disabled employment. Imagine seeing that and going, now I have to be ashamed to get therapy. Like he has all of his arms and legs, and he's been privileged since
he's a prince.
He's a prince, and he's ashamed. That is the most rotten example you can set, because this has always been my problem with certain celebrities with the age of YouTube, is that when you get big enough, you are an example for the world.
Yeah.
Which means by being the change, you should always be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So, and that's when, if you're a nobody and no one knows you, let alone if you have a presence, right?
That big.
If you have a small presence, a big presence, it doesn't matter. You are setting the example for people who can easily be influenced.
They're called influencers.
There will be indirect consequences for saying that. As someone who turns, it's almost as if someone who, it's almost as if a climate activist just said there's such a thing as clean coal. We actually had a politician say there was clean coal, in saying that coal was.
We have politicians saying children should gamble, but that's for another podcast.
Oh boy, we're gonna have fun with that one.
Yeah.
But it blows my mind, and I'm sorry that I'm harping on about it, but it blows my mind that someone with such immense power will now indirectly be responsible for the mental health of millions, because there would be people who see that interview and go, I should be ashamed to get.
Yeah. Now, of course, the pro-Harry and Meghan supporters would say, oh, well, it's up to those people to make up their own minds, and Harry shouldn't be held accountable and responsible. But the problem is they're really targeting young people as a demographic, because they know that's, where the money is.
Yeah, no,
children will hear that.
I entirely disagree with the topic of people should just make up their own minds, because if that was the case, we wouldn't have advertising, we wouldn't have influencers, you wouldn't have commercials, you wouldn't have anything.
There's like a job title called influencers now.
You walk out your front door, walk 5 minutes down the road, count how many advertisements you see, and tell me that
you're not affected by them.
Tell me that the entire world is saying make up your mind. Even better, you don't have to walk out your door. You know what I do on my Facebook wall?
On your phone.
And I would encourage some people to do this. I might, well, actually, this isn't going up on Facebook, so it's fine. But I mark every single ad I see as misleading and scam. Because back when I hopped on Facebook, there were no ads, and I have no choice as to whether I am advertised to. And, I have a special container inside of Firefox, which actually puts Facebook there so it can't track me. Yeah. And even with all of those blocking mechanisms, they still shove ads down my throat.
Yeah, it's so creepy. If you go shopping, I was shopping for sports shoes the other day, and there were like ads of that exact shoe all over my Facebook. The other major bomb that she dropped, this bombshell, is this allegation of racism, which again this one was actually the royal family and William responded to this indirectly. The Queen responded and William responded. So Meghan alleged that when she was pregnant, there were concerns voiced by senior members of the royal family about the skin color of the child. But they said this to Harry, not directly to her, and then Harry came along and relayed it to her. Of course, Oprah was shocked. The memes are made of this now. Her reaction, what? Like, there are memes about this now. But basically, people were shocked. And then Harry came along later. And because liars never get their lies straight, Harry said the same thing, except way before they got married. That's when it was said, apparently. Not when she was pregnant with Archie. Because her insinuation is, and not even insinuation, she almost flat out said it, is that Archie wasn't handed the title of prince, which he wasn't, because he's 2% black. I don't even know what percentage at this point, because look, we talked about this last time. She's barely a woman of color. So, of course, her child's just going to be predominantly, overtly white. You know what I mean? The thing about this that she thinks people don't know, because she thinks we're all plebs with no brains, is that it's been part of the royal family's protocol that great-grandchildren of the ruling monarch don't get a title unless they are in direct line, the direct heirs. Like William's children, they got titles because they're going to be king and queen one day. Harry's never going to be king, let alone his children. And so because Queen Elizabeth is the great-grandmother of Archie, he isn't entitled to a title. When Charles becomes king, he has the option. It's not even an automatic thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Charles can then choose to give Archie the title. So she lied and said he's entitled to one. It's his birthright. She actually used that word. She said it's Archie's birthright, and they're denying it because he's black or part black, whatever her argument is with his, because he's white. It's ridiculous that we're even talking about racism. Sorry, talking about color. The royal family is beyond that. England is, it's not LA, it's not California, where Meghan's own father said the royal family is not racist. This isn't California.
I would like to interject with a basic understanding that can disprove this instantaneously. Okay, so there's a common theme amongst every family in the world. Your parents had to raise you. And so the relationship with our parents can vary from good to bad all over the place. But 99 times out of 100, what is the relationship between a grandmother and their grandchild, or a grandfather and their grandchild? Because 99 times out of 100, that relationship is always positive, because grandparents love their grandchildren so much. My grandmother still adores her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren. And the same with, it doesn't make sense. She's the Queen of England.
None of this makes sense.
There is no way that she would show prejudice to her. Wait, it's a great grandson at this point?
Yeah, Archie, it's her great grand, but Harry's her grandchild, and she adores him. If she was racist, if the family was racist, how would they have allowed the relationship to even? How would they have gotten married?
They wouldn't have.
Exactly.
They wouldn't have. But that just right there, because we all are a part of a family in some way, and we've all witnessed a grandfather, grandmother with a grandchild at some point. That throws it right out the window.
I've seen photos of the Queen looking at Archie, and she adores him. You can see the joy and the love in her eyes, the absolute adoration. While Meghan there's a photo of Meghan holding him, and the Queen's gazing at Archie with such love.
Absolutely.
It's just, so the Queen responded, but the point I was trying to highlight here before I go on to the response is, they couldn't even get their lies straight. She said this was said when she was pregnant. Harry said it was before they were even married. Before they were even engaged. He said really early in the relationship, I knew that they would make our time together difficult because they voiced concerns about the color of Archie's skin. Not Archie, sorry. Future children's skin. So then the Queen responded and said, recollections may vary. That's her way of saying Meghan's lying, I think. That's my interpretation, and the interpretation of lots. The exact statement is, let's see. Queen Elizabeth responds to racism. Here, she said, the whole family is saddened to learn the full extent of how challenging the last few years have been for Harry and Meghan. The issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. While some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately. Harry, Meghan, and Archie will always be much loved family members. And then William, when he was doing a public appearance with Catherine, responded, I believe, to a reporter and said, absolutely not, we're not racist. Like, it's ridiculous. So it's that serious. Never complain, never explain. There's the Queen explaining.
Because that, I feel like Meghan took it personally. She's like, how dare you not respond? How dare you not follow the traditions that you've been doing for the last, I'm going to say century, because for as long as...
she responded, rightfully so, because it's a very serious allegation to
But I feel like she's just been trying to provoke them this whole time. Respond to this.
It's one thing for Meghan to do this. It's another for Harry to sit there and let her bash His grandmother loves him.
Yeah.
She adores him.
Yeah.
And look how he's repaying her.
Yeah, that's
his
just
brother.
it. That's just it. It's that connection again. It's Queen Elizabeth and her grandson Harry, who she would love and adore. Now, again, like I'm saying, you know, the relationship directly between a parent and a child can be all over the place.
Yeah, but the grandparent-grandchild
It's
relationship is almost always
it's
very...
almost always. I'm sure there are exceptions, but yeah, no.
But
no.
so... Now, the other problem is they refused to name the royal who said this, which means they specified it's a senior member.
Yeah.
They expressly said it's not Queen Elizabeth and it's not her husband, Prince Philip.
Yep.
That leaves Charles and William, really.
Yeah.
So they have both made it so unfair because now they're saying it's those two, you take your pick.
Yeah.
It's horrible. How can Harry just sit there and leave it open like that?
Because one of the very first things I heard about this marriage was that she had him wrapped around her finger. And the more I see someone who, on this day, was just a part of the royal family, had a loving brother, a loving father, a loving grandmother, a loving sister-in-law, and
the family, yeah,
and
the whole
he's
family.
just part of the family. Yeah. And then all of a sudden,
everyone's bad. That's it.
all of a sudden, everyone turns.
Yeah.
It's just from one single person. And this is the thing about this web of lies. Catherine's daughter is Charlotte.
Charlotte's Web.
It's not Charlotte's Web, it's Megan's Web.
It's funny because Charlotte really loves spiders. I do wonder whether she knows about Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, but she doesn't love snakes, so she probably doesn't like Meghan.
Lol, that's funny.
It was funny the amount of people referring to her as a serpent. I just in the
comments, yeah, because I was like serpent or saint.
Yeah.
So, by the way, this one's going to be a little bit longer because I really don't want to have a part 3.
No, of course.
I really don't. So, no, I'm not cutting you off. I'm just saying.
No.
It might be a bit of a longer episode.
No, I'm saying go for it because I think that these guys are loving it. So,
what were we saying? Yeah. So now it's basically pick between Charles and William, and it's not fair. But recently, it's come out that the Queen's daughter, Princess Anne, right? Prince Charles' sister.
Yep.
She never... Now, this is all from sources from the royal family relayed by royal correspondence, right? So, again, there's this element of hearsay that I'm not a fan of as a lawyer.
Of course.
Or you can call it Chinese whispers. But apparently, the Queen's daughter has that gift, I suppose, that my dad and I have of sussing people out.
Yeah.
And she saw Meghan coming from a mile.
Yeah.
And she immediately went, oh, no. Okay?
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Well, I'm sure she had plenty of reasons. So now it's coming out that she had an issue with Meghan from the beginning, but it wasn't anything to do with her race. It was Meghan as a person.
Yeah.
Her, I have it written here. So her concern was it would be a mismatch of culture, not color, in the sense that Meghan was an imposter who was leading Harry astray and away from his family.
Yep.
This is all Princess Anne apparently, allegedly, saying all of this. This was her belief.
Because, let's look at the difference. Harry, part of the royal family, very strong connections and family ties. Meghan, no one. I mean, I don't even know if she talks to her mom anymore. Holy shit, I wouldn't be surprised if she cut her off. She's probably out, she's probably not useful to her anymore because that's all that matters in Meghan's life. Can I use you? If I can't, then you don't exist. You're invisible.
And so, no allegations of race, just concerns about this woman because she wasn't acting right. And I have so many notes about Princess Anne, but basically...
But this is
it wasn't anything to do with race. It's important to put that out there.
Yeah.
She just saw Meghan for who she was from the get-go.
And this is the problem with people misusing the race card because there is plenty of racism in the world. There are plenty of times. But when someone misuses that and goes, I'm going to use this to win all my battles because I'm just a horrible person, then you've just hurt everyone.
There are photos of those forms you fill where you fill out your race and your age. And Meghan used to tick the Caucasian box. If you really do identify with being black, which you should be very proud to be part black. In fact, I think it really lends to, because I think she's beautiful. You can come at me. I think Meghan is absolutely beautiful. But I think a huge component of that is her mixed race, to me. because you may not think she's beautiful.
I think serpents can have an allure.
No, I really think she's beautiful. People say she's had work done. All her expressions, her face moves, her lips look just as they did back in the day. Maybe a bit of a nose job, but she doesn't have Botox and all that. You can just tell. She's got the wrinkles. She's got the facial expressions. She's beautiful, but so basically what I'm trying to say is the part black is what really contributes to that beauty as well. It makes her, unique and not like everyone else. So she has every right to be proud to be biracial. But the point I'm trying to make here is she didn't even identify as being biracial. She picked Caucasian because she knew that that's what she mostly looked like.
Pull up one of those photos that you've got open there on Google Tabs.
Look, there's barely,
Okay, you ready for this? Ready? I've seen spray tans that were darker than that.
I know.
Oh my god.
Even look at her in the midst of the royal family. It's not even that much of a shade difference. Like even comparing her to William and Kate and Harry, it's like she's darker, she's exotic, it doesn't scream out.
When I was in school, right? Yeah. We were having our year 10 formal, which is like a prom for the American viewers. So we have one in year 10, year 12. 16 and 18 respectively for age, and I remember the morning of, we still had a school day, and one of the girls ran in and her friends were all so excited. She had a spray tan at 16, right? And all of them were like, oh my gosh,
and she was a lot darker,
and she was
like orange, twice
as dark as that.
Point being, she knew that when you look at her at face value, without going to Ancestry.com or looking at her mom, okay, let's not go that far. Without looking at her mom, even she knew she's white passing. She passes as Caucasian.
Because you know what? The reality of it is that, especially, well, not reality, but the way that the world is going is that we are no longer nearly as racist as we are. And so we're making progress in some parts of the world more than others towards treating people equally, Yeah. For instance, I was never raised to think anything of anyone's skin color. That's...
Really? Because, tell you what, guys, Australians, you might hate me for this, and I do apologize, but honestly, this is just what I've been subjected to personally. I'm not saying everyone's racist, but I have never heard a racist word against me my entire life. I came to Australia. I wasn't born here, and I have a very my family. We traveled a lot, So then I came to Australia, and suddenly, to you Americans especially, it might seem weird because I don't know how it comes across to you, but I was made to feel that there was something wrong with me in Australia. I was too dark, and this is a very common complaint that foreigners who come to Australia have about Australians. Absolutely. So you were raised in a bit of a racist environment. You were just oblivious to it.
Yeah, of course. I feel like we are moving that way. So when someone brings it up, we have lots of people doing questionable things, right? But we don't really bring up race as much anymore. We look at bringing up race.
No, you can't say that, though, especially with George Floyd.
No, of course. But that's the thing. That's what I'm saying.
And then also the hate against Asians for...
that was huge.
No, racism is still a problem.
No. I'm not saying it's not a problem anymore. It's still a huge problem.
You're saying it's getting better relative to the history.
So there used to be a time when, all right. Okay, here we go. Rush Hour. I was watching Cinema Sins, Everything Wrong with Rush Hour, right?
Yeah, you mentioned
instead of watching the actual movie.
Yeah.
The things that Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan can get away with saying
back in the day.
Because it's back in the day.
Yeah.
So we're moving towards...
I get what you're saying.
And part of that's gone to the politically correct side where it's like too much.
Too much, yeah.
But that's where we're moving. So for someone to bring out the race card...
She's wielding it like a weapon.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So she is definitely weaponizing it.
Exactly.
That's why I said she ticked Caucasian, because where was your identification with being black before this?
I was trying to get there. It doesn't matter what color your skin is.
Absolutely
you're a human
doesn't.
being.
I was shocked when I came here. And again, the audience might be shocked because you're not in Australia, or you're not Australian, or you're not racist.
Yeah.
But not all Australians are racist. In fact, not a single person in the army ever made me feel like I wasn't exactly the same as them. No one pointed it out. They all saw me as the same color and the same, we all had, some were brunettes, some were blonde. No one ever told me you look like, you're different. Where are you from? Why do you speak English so well? All questions I've actually been, I've been on the receiving end. Oh, how do you know English? It was so pathetic.
You remember, it reminds me of the time, this was so weird. The one time I was on the other side of that, right? Born and raised here. And
well, he's also part Italian.
Half Italian, yes. And one of my jobs, I actually had someone do that interrogation. Where are you from? I'm from here. No, but where are you really from? And it must have been because my accent isn't, yeah, go, mate, but because,
But that's not racism. That's curiosity.
But it was,
mine was, so based on the way you look, do you find people are racist to you? That question
is racist in itself.
When I received that question, I was a teenager and I didn't understand the implications. And when I said it back to my brother, his best friend was sitting at the table and said, that question in itself is racist. So I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be, I know what it's like for people to be racist against you. It's awful. It's kind of ridiculous. But again, we're on this topic for too long. So point being, she's weaponizing it.
Yes.
So, but the problem with that Princess Anne had was that, here, I actually had it almost verbatim. She found, apparently, allegedly, from sources, she found Meghan to be superficial and culturally ignorant, in the sense that she refused to learn anything and was determined that she knew everything and was going to save the monarchy.
Okay.
So,
narcissism.
Yes, and narcissism. Princess Anne, if this is true, saw that.
It's narcissism 101, and I don't like throwing around narcissism just for a blanket, because a lot of people have narcissistic behaviors, but this is full-blown, unadulterated narcissism.
And then in response to, she said, Archie, they pulled security. So when they left after Megxit and they said, we don't want to be royal senior members of the family, they wanted to have the title, as you said last week, have the title but not do the work. That's exactly what Megxit was, basically. Which Meghan said that role already exists within the family. Which, it does, but guess what? All the other non-working royals, Princess Eugenie and her sister, and they have real life jobs. Yeah. Princess Eugenie or her sister, one of them, they work in an art gallery. She's a director in an art gallery. They're not being paid by taxpayers. They're not getting money from the grant, the crown money that is, distributed amongst the royal family members. But Harry and Meghan wanted the money. They wanted all the perks of being a senior working royal, but without doing the job. So now they're saying, so what happened, was when they went to Canada, which they did just as a detour, because they're like, oh, we still want to live in a Commonwealth country. And then they went to LA, which was always the plan. And then eventually security was pulled from them. The Queen gave them 12 months, grace, kind of like a trial period, to see whether they were happy with being independent. And then they never came back. So
imagine that. You say, I want to leave the royal family, and you get a trial?
I know. She was so accommodating. Such a patient woman in her 90s.
I don't know a lot about the Queen.
Me too, but
I do know about people plus 90, and I do know that
they're not very
accommodating.
Yes,
because a lot of it's hard being that old.
I don't know anything about her, but everything I hear about her, and forgive the pun, is that she is majestic in every way possible. And from everything I'm gathering from my research, she truly is an exemplary human being. And it will be a very, very tragic day when she passes.
I saw a video of one of the guards. I think he was on break or something, and he's like on a selfie on his selfie cam, and then he swings around, and that's the Queen. And then she looks at the camera, and I was just like, she was talking to another guy. So I don't remember. I'd have to find the exact video somewhere, but. There's
even a video of Harry showing her something on his phone, and then Harry, this is pre-Meghan when he was his happy normal self, and he kind of does like a mic drop, and the Queen's just looking at her phone and smiling. She just seems so lovely. She truly does. And if everyone loves her, then there's merit behind that.
I feel like she knows what the definition of memes is.
Yeah.
Like she's that sort of queen.
She seems really, really lovely. So she did that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll try it out. And if you don't like it, come back.
Imagine you worked for a company. Okay, imagine we worked for Apple. And instead of quitting, we got a trial period of 12 months. Oh, that's okay. Go and try. See if you can get another job. If you can't get another job, it's all right.
That's how lenient she's been with them. Eventually security was pulled because how it works is if you're a royal working member, you get security and you get certain perks, you get the income. All of that was pulled because they're not working anymore. She made a big deal out of that.
Of course she did.
And she said specifically they pulled my child's security. Well, guess what I learned from Diana's former bodyguard, who was also by extension William and Harry's bodyguard. He said children don't get bodyguards. They have the bodyguards that are assigned to their parents.
You know what?
So because security was pulled from them, which by the way, apparently they had 15 members to guard them in Canada when Kate and William and the Queen walk around with one or two. They had 15!
Yeah.
And apparently they were their errand boys. Get us coffee, get us food.
Yeah.
You know, instead of getting delivery or something.
See, the royal family wasn't good enough for her. She wanted servants. She wanted a dictatorship.
Yeah, like Saudi Arabia.
Maybe.
You know, the chandelier earrings that she loves flaunting.
She would have been beheaded at a heartbeat if she'd pulled the same shit.
Anyways, or Kim Jong-un. Oh. The North Korean one. Maybe she should go for him.
No, he probably wants someone who actually knows something about the traditions of their country.
So she's complaining about things where it's wrong to even complain about because the child, the infant, does not get their own security detail. So it wasn't pulled from Archie, Meghan. It was pulled from the two of you because you basically resigned. That's what happens. It's like going to complaining to going to Fair Work Australia and going, my boss doesn't want to give me benefits anymore, even though I resigned.
You pulled the words from my mind.
It's crazy. And for her to say that on TV, it's like, you're 40, woman, you're 40. Even, I would excuse you if you were 21 and you married Harry and this is what happened, but you're 40. You're an adult. You know how things work.
No, because things don't work the way they should. Things work her way or the highway.
So we talked about all this thing. God. And then, okay, so Harry goes, oh, this is where things go wrong, right? When they see her in Australia and the tour and they get jealous. He said the royal family turned on Meghan after the Australian tour because they saw how effortless it was for her, how flawless, how she was loved by the people. But I didn't see that. I saw all the tabloids and the magazines and everything trashing her and trashing how, again, she would spend exorbitant amounts of money on every single damn thing she wore to every single damn event. And there was a lot of talk about how, I don't like getting into petty things like her clutching her belly and her pregnant belly.
But it is part of her gimmick and it should be exposed.
And, she goes, Kate can do it, I can't. Well, when Kate did it, she didn't do it like that, like clutching it for dear life. She would put her hand on it. Meghan would literally do it like that. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing.
Everything you can do, I can do better.
So that's petty. Again, I don't like bringing that up, but she brought it up, I think, from memory.
It's legitimately a concern. Again, she's trying to one-up Kate in every way, shape, and form, and falling flat in her face.
And Harry's buying into it. He's saying they're jealous of her. He pointed at her to Oprah and said, the Commonwealth's greatest asset.
No, she told him to say that.
I don't know. Maybe. But for him to say that when he has his brother, Prince William, who I believe, honestly, looking at him and Catherine, I think the Queen is the Commonwealth's greatest asset. How can you just say that when the Queen still breathes?
I think the Queen's stockings are more of an asset than Meghan.
No, but for real, without taking digs, you're the Queen, the longest reigning and most loved monarch in the history of the world, still breathes air. She's still alive and she's still ruling. And he has the audacity to say his wife. I'm not going to say divorcee because there's nothing wrong with being divorced.
Although now we know why.
An American actress who knows nothing and couldn't even cope with her duties.
I saw a quick glance at one of your notes. Couldn't even learn the national anthem.
I'm going to get to that.
I am
couldn't even cope.
I'm an Australian-born citizen. I know part of the American national anthem. Right? And I wasn't even trying. I've just watched enough movies. Yeah. How do you not know the anthem? If I moved to another country, I'd learn the damn anthem.
And forget that. If you joined the royal family, you'd learn the damn anthem.
That's me just saying I want to live in another country. Let alone.
So the Queen's alive and he points to his wife sitting next to him and goes, the Commonwealth's greatest asset.
Because back to what I said before.
He's beguiled. He's bewitched.
No, because of what I said before. Remember I said Meghan is threatened because she can't be the most important woman in the room. She can't be queen.
Yep.
So who will be the Commonwealth's greatest asset when the great Queen Elizabeth
passes
away, it will be William and Catherine.
Well, Charles first. Prince Charles. Will become king, and then eventually William and Catherine.
So she will never be the Commonwealth's greatest asset, which is why she needed Harry to say it
on live TV.
On an American network, nonetheless, because she had no more sway with the networks in the UK.
Yeah, so, and then, she made a big deal. She's like, I had to learn the national anthem.
But didn't she not?
I don't know if she ended up... And she's like, I had to learn hymns, those church hymns. Are you for real? When I joined the army, on our first night, they made us all stand outside the room and recite the national anthem. Mm-hmm. And for those of us who didn't know, because there are two parts to the Australian one, and all of us only knew the first half.
Yeah, no, I've been here since I was born, and I only know the first half.
No one knows the second half, and if you know the second half, you know you're serving in the military.
Yeah.
They gave us 2 minutes to memorize it. 2 minutes timed. Yeah. And we fucking memorized it. I'm sorry for swearing, because this is really getting my fucking nerves. We memorized it. Yeah. All of us. Not one person effed up. And now I'm censoring myself. Yeah. So... for her to sit there, anyways, I just can't. At this point, of course, you can garner that this was when I was like, Megan, I don't think I like you anymore. I'm not batting for your side anymore, lady. Wow. The entitlement.
Look, here's the problem. Anyone who is, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to decide. You've done it.
Thank you.
It's okay to go, okay, you know what? The evidence is piling up. Because this is the problem with people who are still supporting Amber, is that I think a lot of them just can't admit to being wrong. Being wrong is a part of life.
I'm admitting to you right now. I won't even take down my videos where I defended Meghan, because I practice what I preach. I want to be that example of someone who was open-minded, as I always tell everyone to be. I changed my mind. Ask Zach. Before I did this research, I was entirely on Meghan's side. I really was. We would get into debates about her, and I would always defend her.
Yeah, I just there was something about her that I just didn't like. And again, I don't follow the media for as long as I can help, so I didn't have that sort of everyone hates her. No.
It was entirely your own view. It was a cold call.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
and to be honest, I wasn't following too. It was just like I said, the glimpses I would get of her, photos, and I liked her. Because I wasn't informed. Yeah. But I defended her. And then now I'm completely on the other side because the evidence, I cannot.
And that's what makes... This is the problem with what happened with Johnny, is that the evidence meant nothing in a court of law, but don't let the evidence mean nothing to people with common sense. So... you don't even have, if you defended her at one point, it's okay to not defend her now when the evidence is piling up. It's okay to switch because... I just don't like it when people can't admit that they're wrong because it's just a part of life.
I know.
And to say, I was wrong, I'm sorry, those 5 words seem to be the hardest thing for people to say.
We're getting close to the end of the interview and we can talk more freely if we have some time. But so the last major point I really want to say is, 2 points, right? First of all, if the institution is as bad as they say it is, Meghan and Harry, if it's so horrible there, why are you sitting there with Oprah and complaining and whining about how badly you want a title for yourselves and for Archie?
After the Netflix and Spotify deal.
If you don't like the family and it's so racist and horrendous and they don't believe in mental health and all that, why do you still want to be associated with them? Why do you want the title? Why are you fighting for something that is so bad? That's the first question I would pose.
I would say the quick answer to that is Meghan can't be queen, so she's going to destroy it. She can't be the top dog, so she's going to tear down whatever she can't be. It's like someone not getting a job that they applied for. Even though the job position wasn't open, they didn't get the job, and now they're trashing it.
And then Harry has the audacity to say that Prince Charles stopped taking his calls at one point. And he's sitting next to a woman who cut off her entire family with no mercy. And he's complaining about his father getting frustrated with him, and I believe rightfully so, and he stopped taking his calls. Now, according to what he told Oprah, he started taking his calls again. So Prince Charles is clearly the better person because he didn't cut off his son. But when he was frustrated for a while and stopped, Harry was whinging about that. Yeah, well, your wife has no family. And now she's rendered you pretty much with no family because she's pulled you out of it.
Yeah.
And he had the audacity to complain. So that was something I wanted to talk about. And then finally, honestly, this is the biggest problem I have with this interview, right?
Yeah.
Apart from all the lies. The royal family, there was a hashtag trending, abolish the monarchy, on Twitter. And I put that down in my notes when I saw it. The attacks, Catherine is now being harassed in public. People screaming at her, why'd you make Meghan cry? And apparently she's been receiving death threats, Catherine. William has been receiving wrath from people as well. William getting screamed at, asking if his family is racist. These two exemplary members of the royal family doing their jobs, unlike Harry and Meghan, getting out there, doing what they're meant to do, their duty, their service, and this is how they're being treated. You know my blood's boiling just talking right now?
There's another institution or another conceptual institution which ignores facts, ignores evidence, ignores anything put in front of them, believes the words of one or two specific people as the only truth, and will fight and die for them. You want to know what it's called?
What?
It's called a cult.
That's what people are referring to them as. It's like, you know what's really great about Zach, and this is why I love having a podcast with him. He's really not in the know, right? Like, it's on purpose. I don't inform him. I don't give him a lot of information pre-podcast because I like the really organic reactions he gives everyone. But he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know that they're called cult leaders. But you really, you've really got it. He's completely out of the loop, but you get it, and everything you say is pretty much spot on.
Because it's here. It's not that I have to draw too many conclusions with my head. I feel it, and everyone else can feel it. They feel that it's wrong, and that it's once again someone who is evil getting away with something.
Yeah.
Whether it be whether it be her weaponized race card, whatever it is, she is evil. Evil incarnate. She means to hurt people, and just because she's not doing it physically and doing it psychologically doesn't make it okay.
That's what we talked about in our very first episode. See, this is a prime example of psychological mistreatment. God knows what kind of crap she's putting Harry through. Because I tell you what, and everyone's noticing this, so am I, he looks like a shadow of his former self.
Harry is just, take the kids and run. That's all he can do.
The life has been sucked out of him.
Yeah.
He used to be the most... It's not even, he was young in his 20s. No. Right before he met her, in his 30s, in his mid-30s or early 30s, he was this light, he was so funny, this amazing sense of humor. He was goofy.
As you would expect from a prince.
He was just, it was always his thing. Like, William's never been that because William's been raised to be king. But Harry always knew he was never going to be king. So he can let loose. And maybe too loose sometimes. If you know, then you know. Harry's done some really stupid things in his past. So...
I would say he's done a really stupid thing now.
Yeah, but really racist, horrible, ignorant things. So, for him... And now, seeing him, he's a shadow. He's dead. He's like dead on the inside. He's broken.
This I can promise you. There is not a single day that Harry is with Meghan where he is at peace. She got him around her finger and is now throwing him around like a rag doll. And just let your imagination run wild with all of those sorts of things, because that's what's happening to him.
There's footage of her. Now, as a prince, he ranks before her. He's a prince of the blood. There's footage of her, multiple events, yanking him out of the way and stepping in front of him to talk to people that he was talking to mid-conversation. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it.
You know what? Let's do another hashtag, cancel Meghan. Hashtag cancel Meghan. Let's do it,
she's really pro-cancel culture. I'm not. We're not. But she is. So.
I think that the best thing that can happen, because again, this isn't going before a court, so the only way to get justice is for her to disappear. But at the same time, I doubt that Harry can avoid the facts for his entire life.
Well, that's what people are saying. He's going to wake up one day, and it will be one heck of a wake-up call.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that we talk about it and then it becomes common knowledge, the same way that we talk about SA and DV, and we make it common knowledge and we continue the conversation, One day he'll wake up, and I hope it's not just, I'm going back to the royal family. I hope it's wrath. I really do. I hope that he can finally put the pieces back together, and that she never appears in the spotlight ever again, because the one thing worse than death for her is being invisible.
Absolutely.
So continuing to out her, to disassemble her narrative that she wants to write, to pull the spotlight away from her, and then eventually, hopefully, when he comes around, Harry can be at peace again. And he'll have some lovely children. I mean, you know what? I do wonder if the royal family will have any problems winning custody over the children, or if because Harry's a man, he won't get it.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Because we know people, lovely men who have been unable to have full custody or even partial custody because they're a man. And this is true story. I'm not being sexist or whatever. This is a real problem where men are barred access from their children even if the woman is horrible.
And it's not because they did anything wrong.
Yeah.
It's because she wants revenge.
Yes.
So, you know what I think? I think that we need to start having a positive point to visit at the end of the podcasts so that we can bring ourselves back up, because I'm just going to go like... Well, I want to say very quickly about the body language experts. I will, again, like I said, I'll try to remember to link it. And I do want to say, take it with a grain of salt. They call themselves the best in the world, but I have been informed reliably that they all come from a police background, so they have that mentality of guilt, for guilt. They have unanimously, 4 of them, basically said that they analyzed the whole video, the whole interview with Oprah, and they said Meghan pretty much lied on every single point. Yeah.
And like I said last video, if she wasn't lying, she wasn't being entirely truthful. So, take that as you will. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you to believe them. One of them was very biased. One of them really was like, oh, she's a narcissist, and he was really going at her. And I don't like that when I watch these types of videos. I do want impartiality.
I mean, it took me a podcast and a half to come to that word.
Yeah.
So
just make up your own minds. I'm not saying that their word is the truth.
Get more sources.
Yeah, get more sources. Body language is such a subjective science, if you can even call it a science. So many things that we're used to have now been debunked. For example, crossing your arms doesn't always mean that you're closed off. Sometimes it means that you're cold. Sometimes it means that it's self-assuring for yourself. It doesn't always mean don't talk to me. So it's just an example.
Sometimes I do it just to straighten up my shoulders.
Yeah. So I will link it. Have a look if you're interested in those kinds of things. The other thing I really want to talk about before we sign out is, first of all, we have 2 people who've lost their jobs because of this interview. Piers Morgan, who is a very famous British journalist.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I showed you his face, you'd know who he was.
Yeah.
And Sharon Osbourne. Yes, Ozzy Osbourne's wife.
Wow.
Piers, I know of him. I watch him a lot, actually. I would say, I'm very well aware of Piers. He used to have a show on CNN, I believe. And he's very outspoken, very against the grain.
Yeah.
Very honest, but blunt. It can hurt.
Gives it to you how it is.
Exactly. What he presents on TV, and he really fights for what he believes in.
Yeah.
He's not swayed. He's not a flag in the wind.
Yeah.
He lost his job because he has always been honest about his feelings towards Meghan, which is he doesn't like her.
Yep.
He thinks she's a social climber who uses and discards. He's been saying this from the get-go. Now, the one thing people use against him, which I think is unfair, is that at one point Meghan tried to use him to get into the British upper, the celebrity circle in England.
Yep.
And she befriended him on Twitter. She started following him. She sent him a DM. She sought him out.
All the usual stuff that she's done to millions of people.
Exactly. And then she dropped him as soon as she met Harry. Completely ghosted him. And people say he's butthurt about that.
No.
But he will say it time and time again. He's using that as an example. He's learning that he's not the only one this has been done to. Then he saw her father. He saw how she would use discard. People coming out of the woodworks, childhood friends, which I first thought they had an agenda and they were jealous of her. But no. There is a pattern of behavior that Piers is pointing out and has been pointing out for years. And now he's lost his job because he came out on TV and said he doesn't believe her. Yeah. So people took issue to that. They called him racist.
Yep.
And an anti-mental health advocate, which
Oh my
he is
gosh.
entirely not.
No, they did not. She weaponized the race card and now it's being used.
If anything, Pierce has always talked about how wonderful it is that a biracial woman is now a part of the royal family.
It's just a damn shame it had to be her.
No, she's gone now. She's fucked that up. And then Meghan complained to ITV.
Yep.
He was a host in the show for years. She lodged a formal complaint, and then he was given an ultimatum by ITV. They said, you either apologize to Meghan or you lose your job. He quit.
You absolute legend.
He quit, and he said, I will not be silenced.
Yes.
This is why I remembered him. He had some amazing quotes that I really don't want to cut the podcast without sharing. He said, she's just one of many whiny, privileged, hypocritical celebrities who now cynically exploit victimhood to suppress free speech, value their own version of the truth above the actual truth, and seek to cancel anyone that deviates from their woke worldview or who dares to challenge the veracity of their inflammatory statements.
Say what you want about Piers Morgan, but that was very well written.
As Winston Churchill said, some people's idea of free speech is that they are free to say what they like, but if anyone else says anything back, that is an outrage.
Hashtag cancel Meghan.
This is why I like Pierce. He stood his ground and he said, hell no, I'm going to apologize simply for speaking, expressing my beliefs. Meghan is akin to a tyrant.
Yes.
If you dare speak out against her, she will shut you down. She cost this man his job. And then his good friend Sharon Osbourne defended him in a US talk show it's actually called The Talk.
Yep.
And she's been a part of that show for 11 years.
Yep.
She was basically, according to her own account, I watched her interview, ganged up on, ambushed, without being warned that they were going to bring this up on live TV or whatever, and was accused of being racist for defending Pierce. And Sharon, you can really tell she was caught off guard because she was shaking, like she was really emotional. And she said, tell me how he's racist. Give me and educate me, she said. Educate me, enlighten me. Tell me how Pierce is racist. She's been friends with him for years, and they work together on America's Got Talent, so she knows him personally, and she said he doesn't have a racist bone in his body. So this has now become a situation where if a white person dares say they don't like someone of color, it is immediately racist. There is no concern for what if the person who happens to be of color also has a bad personality.
And this is the problem, is when you weaponize racism, then you give racists ammunition, because then they can use the very valid point here of, you just told me I can't say anything bad about you because of your skin color. Now, all of a sudden, you've helped racists find a foothold to fight against you. You're doing the complete opposite of what you should be doing, which is finding equality.
It's racist in itself. You are now telling white people that they can't express themselves.
Absolutely.
Now, this might get backlash. Racism is such a controversial issue. I don't want to touch it. And I've been a victim of it. But that's the argument Sharon was trying to make. I should have clarified. Sharon is saying now this is racism in itself. You're telling white people they can't speak up on matters that they should be able to speak up on. You're silencing white people.
And in America, where do I need to remind anyone of what happened at the Capitol earlier this year? Those sorts of people who want to harm others and stormed the Capitol, those are the sorts of people that you've now given ammunition to. They will use these sorts of events in misguided, misdirected. They will throw that back at you, and you can't argue that, because that's exactly the problem. So as soon as you start taking power, it's like saying women can't complain about SA because men don't get representation, right? No, both sides need to be heard. Now you're starting to say exactly that. You can't say this because this person has more privilege than you to not be criticized.
Yeah. It's wrong. You can't silence people you can't weaponize racism. Basically, that's the full stop. That's the long and short of it. So, what else? Let me just make sure. I mean, we've already blown out our time, so I might as well make sure I've got everything. This one I want to make quickly, so let's not harp on it for too long. Both Meghan and Harry claim they want privacy. They're all about privacy. Fair enough. everyone's entitled to it. They're really popping up a lot for people who claim they want privacy. Also, would you really move to LA if you want privacy? Is that, when they moved to Canada and that secluded whatever island they were in, that's believable at least, but you live in LA.
Nobody moves to LA for privacy.
Full stop. I think that's all we have to say on that. With that, we're going to sign off. I'm going to try to edit this to condense it a little bit. We do tend to ramble because it's a very informal setting.
And I'm still getting the hang of this.
Yeah. No, Zach can be you can get really passionate sometimes and just...
Oh, man. Can we talk about... I don't have any blood left. It's all evaporated. I've been boiling so much.
Thank you all for watching, and thank you for your continued support. I think the next topic will be... We have gotten a lot of requests, actually, to learn more about Zach's story with his female perpetrator. So we may make the next one about that.
It's a big one, though, so I don't even know if we'll get very far into it.
Well, we won't be so detailed because the thing is, I have witnesses that I don't know whether they're comfortable lending, not just forget their face, even their voice. I will have to double check with them, but it won't be anytime soon. So we may make, this one might be more of a general overview of what happened, giving you like a rundown from start to finish, but in a general way. And then maybe in the future we can do a more detailed video with witnesses and with evidence, not too much, because I don't want to give away our strategy for her to watch and take notes and go, to prepare herself and how to defend herself.
A good lawyer wouldn't give away their defense.
Exactly. So everything I'm going to say, I hope you believe that we have evidence to back up everything we say, but I will not be sharing that evidence because I don't want her to know exactly what we have. So that's probably what we're going to do next week. Again, please let us know what you would like to hear as well, what interests you, what topics you'd like us to talk about. Zach has his own list of topics that he will also be bringing to the table, because so far I've picked them.
Well, of course, it's your channel, but...
Well, the next topic is an agreement because he's the victim, and of course I wouldn't be doing it if you...
No, of course.
It's traumatic. I'll never forget how he would, when he was telling the police officer everything for his official statement. Yeah, you were just trembling the whole time.
I mean, I will say that that initial interaction was, the police officer said to me he's not sure what he can do, and 15 minutes later he called me after speaking to his sergeant, and once he had taken it higher, it went very serious.
Yeah, they took it very seriously. So that's why I said Zach actually fared better than Johnny, because at least the authorities, if not the courts, the authorities took him seriously. But that's for another time.
Yes.
Thank you all for watching. Do you want to say something before we leave?
No, keep it positive and respectful in the comments, and even if you disagree, respectfully disagree. Hit the like button, hit subscribe.
Please.
I didn't even do that for my own stuff.
I've actually been told by one of my favorite patrons to do this, because I barely tell people to subscribe. I don't feel comfortable doing it, but it's part of the job, I guess. It's part of the gig.
Especially if you've made it to the end. Like, hey, hit the subscribe button, because, you're
the real deal if you're here till the end. So thank you.
MVP.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Follow me on Twitter if you want to get updates as well. And I'm on Instagram. It's all linked down below. I'm on Patreon. I wish you all the best. Take care, and we will catch you in a future episode.
See you then.
Bye. Finished.
I'm really sorry about the editing.
It's alright.
But I guess you don't have to edit.